Independent School District 624. Would the clerk please call the roll?
Newmaster,
Present.
Thompson,
Present.
Arcand,
Present.
Beloit,
Here.
Chapman,
Here.
Ellison here, Mullen.
Here. Would you all please stand if you can and join us in the Pledge of Allegiance? Dr. Kazmierczak, would you please lead the pledge?
Will do. I pledge allegiance to the
flag of the United States
of America.
and to the republic
which stands
one nation, under God,
indivisible,
justice for
indivisible. All right. That's always a different piece of business. With that, we have before us an agenda. You see the agenda. I would ask for a motion to approve the agenda.
So moved. Marge Newmaster.
A motion by Dr. Newmaster. Is there a second?
Second.
A second by Mr. Chapman. This will require a roll call vote. Would the clerk please call the roll?
Newmaster,
Aye.
Thompson,
Aye.
Arcand,
Aye.
Beloit,
Aye.
Chapman,
Aye.
Ellison, aye, Mullen.
Aye. We also have before us a consent agenda. This is our sundry items that we normally have in our meeting. The one thing that I am always overwhelmed by is the generosity of the community, especially even in today in the world today. So with that, I would ask for a motion to approve the consent agenda.
So moved. Beloit.
Motion by Ms. Beloit. Is there a second?
Second.
A second by Dr. Arcand. This too will require a roll call vote. Would the clerk please call the roll?
Newmaster,
Aye.
Thompson,
I think it's taken a couple. There you go.
Sorry. Aye.
Arcand,
Aye.
Beloit,
Aye.
Chapman,
Aye.
Ellison, aye, Mullen.
Aye, thank you. Motion passes. We are now at the portion of our meeting which is the public forum. During this time, the school board is in a meeting or electronic means. Those who would like to provide comments during the public forum may submit their comments using the White Bear Lake Area Schools Public Forum Comments form. I know that you can get the link on the website. Dr. Kazmierczak, are there any comments made for public forum?
Yes, we have several, and let's see, Marissa, are you going to read through those? Okay.
Yep, I've got them.
Ms. Betty.
There are five entries, and so I'll read through each of them. The first one is from Tiffany Dietrich, president of the White Bear Lake Area Educators. Her address, 4855 Bloom Avenue in White Bear Lake. Late last week, I shared a letter on behalf of the leadership of White Bear Lake Area Educators, Local 7286, signed by 138 of our members, asking the board to authorize a 30-day public comment period to open for community input and public response regarding building specifications for all upcoming construction projects. As you are aware, the facilities planning process occurred over the course of several months and offered multiple opportunities for community feedback. Similarly, the community was provided multiple opportunities to offer feedback last fall when considering the bond question. After coming together to approve this bond referendum, we believe the voters of the community served by White Bear Lake Area Schools deserve an opportunity to speak on how this construction work should be completed. To maintain community trust, it's critically important to allow time for these conversations, which have been disrupted because of COVID-19. Offering this window of time for public comment is consistent with how the district has engaged with the community throughout every step of this important work so far and honors its commitment to our students and their futures. So the second entry is from Kara Peterson, St. Paul Regional Labor Federation at 353 West 7th Street, Suite 201 in St. Paul. The St. Paul Regional Labor Federation represents over 150 affiliate unions and more than 56,000 union members living in the Twin Cities East Metro. Our federation has a proud tradition of encouraging union members to support their local school districts by voting yes on operating levies and bond referendum. More than 6,000 union members and householders live in the White Bear Lake Area School District, and we know that thousands of them answered our call last fall. Their volunteer efforts, combined with their participation at the ballot box, helped to pass the biggest bond referendum in Minnesota's history. The approval of the $326 million building bond demonstrates significant community trust and necessitates that the construction work that will be undertaken is completed in a manner that is best for students, workers, and the community. To that end, the St. Paul Regional Labor Federation encourages the White Bear Lake Area School Board to adopt a prevailing wage policy for all school construction work. The Federation also asks that the school board authorize a 30-day public comment period to ensure that the community members who helped to pass the bond referendum have an opportunity to weigh in on how the work is completed. Thank you for your consideration. The third letter is from Jordan Fry at 6035 135th Street North. My name is Jordan Fry, and I have two children in White Bear Lake Schools, Joshua, 7th grade at Sunrise, and Maverick, 2nd grade at Matoska. I'm writing today to ask the board to adopt prevailing wage on all 624 school construction projects and to open a third-party window for comments on public labor agreement language. During this unusual world we are living in, I think it is very important we give the community time to process the decisions this board will make that can and will affect many people in this community. I believe tax money paid by my family to invest in White Bear Lake schools should come with a return investment for making sure workers are protected for the skilled work they do while on White Bear Lake projects. PLA language ensures that at a time when healthcare is vital, the White Bear Lake School Board could take this extra step to ensure money spent by the school secures benefits for the people of their community. Opening this up for a 30-day comment period would only solidify the community's support for this matter and help the board to realize that the majority of Bears support this decision. The same people who were with all of you when you were endorsed by labor at the Regional Labor Federation. Most of the board said they would support these exact issues in their screenings with labor, and these are the people who will be standing beside you when others try to invoke fear into our community. We will be standing with you. Throughout history, great leaders have made hard decisions because they were the right thing to do, although no one said they were going to be easy. The easy decision you can make tonight is to hear the voices of our community and give them a chance to respond. Please grant the 30-day comment period and secure prevailing wage in our school projects. I yield my time and I thank you for your dedication to the students of White Bear Lake. Go Bears. And the fourth is from Octavio Chung at 4958 142nd Circle North. My name is Octavio Chung. I have lived in the White Bear Lake Area School District for 15 years, first in White Bear Lake and now in Hugo. The reason I am writing is to request a 30-day period to comment on upcoming construction projects and the adoption of a project labor agreement for the upcoming construction projects. Thanks. And the fifth letter is from Ryan Ponthan at 1906 Clarence Street in White Bear Lake, Minnesota. As the president of the Minnesota State Interior Systems Local 68, UBC, North Central States Regional Council of Carpenters Business Representative, White Bear Lake resident, and parent of two students at Birch Lake Elementary, I am in support of the White Bear Lake School Board adopting prevailing wage requirements on all construction projects on White Bear Lake schools, and for the board to approve a 30-day public comment period to adopt any further referendum construction project requirements within the district. This time period allows members of our community to have the same opportunity for input as they had during the planning process leading up to the referendum vote. Within the district, there are hundreds of members, including myself, of the UBC who may have the opportunity to let their voice be heard on this issue if you choose to allow that time. One of the things that attracted my wife and I to White Bear Lake is the school district's mission statement. Included in the mission of the district is to foster community engagement and partnerships, which I believe this would accomplish. Thanks for all you do for our students and community. And that is it.
Thank you, Miss Betty. Is there any others that, I don't believe I believe that's it, correct?
Mm-hmm. It is.
All right. Then we will move on to our first informational item, C1, which is the student recognition. Dr. Kazmierczak, is that you?
Yeah. So tonight is believe it or not, it's the time of the year when we recognize our student liaisons. So Madison Carroll, I believe, is on. Hi, Maddie. And Jennifer Adams, I don't know if she's on, but there's a picture of both of them. So I just want to say,
Excuse me.
Yep.
Excuse me, Dr. Kazmierczak. We don't have a student recognition tonight.
Oh, I'm sorry. Did I
This
jump?
is next on the agenda item. I apologize.
Okay.
We can jump in there. I'm fine.
Yep, we do have a student recognition. I'm sorry, I jumped ahead. Okay, should we finish? Let's finish.
Go ahead.
This one of our liaisons, and then Mr. Mullen, do you want to jump in on this one?
Yeah, I have a statement. Miss Adams, Miss Carroll, the White Bear Lake Area School Board would like to commend you and recognize, Madison Carroll, 12th grade, and Jennifer Adams, 11th grade students for their outstanding role as the 2019-2020 student representative of the school board. Due to delays in production and shipping, we will not receive the mug until last week of school. We have a picture of the mug on the presentation slide. Again, thank you both for your work, and I will tell you personally, it's been a pleasure serving with you guys this year. We really appreciate everything you've done for the students and for the student body. Go Bears.
All right, thank you. Thank you, students. And then, so we'll do the student recognition now, and then we'll actually hear from Madison Carroll in a little while. So, okay. So yes, we do have a student recognition. So due to the Governor Walz stay-at-home executive orders, which has resulted in the school board conducting their meetings by electronic means, a student recognition ceremony that was scheduled for before this meeting will not take place in person. So instead tonight, during our electronic meeting, we're going to recognize students who represented the district at a state level in the History Day competition, middle school music, M3 Math Challenge, and MAP Stars. Their names will be read during this informational item. And then additionally, certificates and bear pins will be mailed to the students at their home. So congratulations, students. And I'm going to turn it over to Miss Betty to take us through. It's quite an extensive list of students. So I'll turn it over.
It is. You get to hear from me again. Our first group of students that are being recognized represented the district at the state level, and some will be at the national level as well in the National History Day competition. So congratulations to the following students. Emily Brown and Lise de Almeida received honorable mention for their project, Amelia Earhart, Reaching New Heights in History. Alexander Herr received third place and also received an award in the Minnesota Laws and Courts for Baker versus Nelson. Trace Dotstrey received honorable mention for Bessie Coleman project. Claire Tamala received did a project Breaking Barriers in the FDA. Delaney Pyle and Natalie Rowe received honorable mention for Breaking Gender Barriers in Medical History, a documentary of Elizabeth Blackwell. Lene Brown, Breaking Racial Barriers, James McCune Smith. Alexa Duffy, Amaya Lattimore, Isabella Matt, and Sophia Matt did a project, C. Walton Lillahai. And Annika Hellman received first place, was a state champion, and also received a Minneapolis History Award. And then, of course, with the state first place state championship, was a national qualifier as well for her individual exhibit, Clarence Walton Lillahai, Breaking the Barriers Surrounding Open Heart Surgery. And Kinsey Kupas with a project, Climbing Over Barriers on Everest. Peyton Fuchs, Maya Greenbaum, and Reese Greenbaum with Cruisin' versus Missouri. Sophia Pratt received honorable mention, a project, Deborah Sampson's Revolutionizing Women's Roles in War, Breaking Barriers in American History Prior to the Revolutionary War, topical prize. Grace Conroy with a project, Dorothea Dix's Mental Health Reform. Addison Collins, Elizabeth Cady Stanton, Breaking Social and Political Barriers at the Seneca Falls Convention. Lindsay Hansen, honorable mention with History of the Anatomy Acts, Resurrectionists to Body Donation. Lindy Eichinger, honorable mention with a project, Joanne Morgan. Nora Resick, first place state champion, and then of course the national qualifier on individual performance on Joanne Morgan, Breaking NASA's Gender Barriers During the Launches of the Apollo Program. Emily Hodge and Paige Peters, honorable mention for Katherine Johnson, a computer who helped break barriers. Libby Butters, Leela Davis, Natalie Frazier, and Lillian Jenkins, honorable mention for Loving versus Virginia. Kate Furman, Alyssa Hamlin, and Charlotte Schroeder, Loving versus Virginia. Lily Rubio, honorable mention for Moses March to Freedom, Harriet Tubman's Life. Cleo Jerkovich, Ella Maslowski, and Ada Time. Honorable mention, Norma McCorvey, The Unborn Shatter Legal Barriers and Change America Forever. Paige Sogard, honorable mention, Oak Ridge, Tennessee, Breaking Barriers Through Scientific Discovery. Evangeline Wilbur, honorable mention, Rachel Carson. Olivia Vermeesh, honorable mention, Riding into Space. Praise Oyakonli, honorable mention, Ruby Bridges, Breaking the Race Barrier in Education. Megan Hulla, Victoria Johnson, Sandra Day O'Connor. Josie Milnick and Addison Mueller, Selma to Montgomery March, the march that breaks barriers for equal voting rights. Isabella Hanscom and Abigail O'Brien, South Carolina, Breaking Barriers with Succession. Ella Stather, second place, state runner-up, national qualifier, individual exhibit. I'm going to get this wrong, thalidomide, breakthrough pill and broken lives still. Lydia Ford, Jenna Malloy, the 99ers. Bailey Haynes, Samantha Hansen, Alexa Mosier, honorable mention, the Buckeye Bullet Breaks Barriers. Petra Middleton, honorable mention, the Greensboro 4, the movement that broke barriers. Andrew Green, the Manhattan Project. Mia Grambo and Kylie Schochner, ultrasound. Elena Vlieger, 5th place, Virginia Apgar. Lucas McLattery, Luke Williams, 3rd place, Virginia Hall. Robert Dresden, Gabrielle Gerlach, Tristan Vang, honorable mention, Voyagers 1 and 2. And that is it for the students I just read were both Central and Sunrise Park Middle School students. So on to our middle school music honors. Our next group represented the district at the state level in music competitions at the middle school level. Congratulations to Adina Cloweter, who is in the MBDA 6th through 8th All-State Honor Band, and was also one of 89 selected for a prestigious group. And it was shared with us that as a 7th grader, it was really rare to be chosen for this. Usually 8th graders alone are chosen for that group. So congratulations to Adina for joining the 8th graders as a 7th grader. And then Anthony Shifsky was chosen for the 7-8 Minnesota Honor Choir. And Lily Swidajewski, I'm sorry I did that wrong, All-State Choir. And then Ella Wyerke, All-State Choir as well. So congratulations, middle school music students. And then we move on to the M3 Math Challenge. And a group of students participated in a math challenge, the M3 Math Challenge, and they ended up being one of the top 150 in the nation. So congratulations to the students, Sydney Beck, Matthew Schunard, Kaylee Halama, Abby Nisler, and Christina Ryberg, who participated in a project, Keep on Trucking. U.S. turns over from diesel to electric. They had to solve a problem of how to best get trucks across the United States, and did that mathematically, and of course won at the national level for that. And then our last group of students are ones that had represented the district at the state level in the Minnesota Association of Alternative Programs, or MAP Stars. So congratulations to the following Area Learning Center students: Isabella Bill and Josephine Brennan, Preston Brigman, Joshua Cook, Caitlin Friedrichs, Julia Garza Whalen, David Gill, Z. Grissom, Rihanna Hamilton, Grace Honeycutt, Ayada Mack, Marina Norcross, Matilda O'Malley, Maya Reichter-Moore, Amber Schmidt, Joseph Schrankler Jr., Brianna Warner. And as you can see, the MAP Stars participated in different activities throughout the MAP Stars program, and so we included their activities in the slides as well. So congratulations to our 4 groups of students.
All right, just one more thing. Thanks, Marissa. So we would have had a boardroom full tonight. A lot of students recognized. Amazing. This is always one of those nights that we have to order extra cookies when these groups are recognized. And the ALC students listed under the MAP Stars Awards, we typically have a small event and usually host a breakfast over at the ALC, and we recognize them a little bit more intimate ceremony and deliver their certificates and pins. So if board members, if you don't recall that group, that we normally do it over at the LC on one morning, and they talk about their experiences. So that it's a little bit different this year. One of those things that we aren't able to do this year. So, all right. So with that, back to you, Chair Mullen.
Thank you, Dr. Kazmierczak. Thank you, Ms. Betty, for reading off the student recognition. We will now move into our next informational item, C3, which is the Race to Reduce legislative grant. Is this Ms. Carroll?
Ms. Paul is going to kick it off.
Oh, thank you, Ms. Paul.
All right, Chair Mullen, Dr. Kazmierczak, members of the board. We have been very fortunate to have received significant support from the state legislature to align our curriculum to address a community-wide need, which was a shared understanding around the water issues that we were experiencing with the lake levels going down, and just bringing the community together to have more of an understanding about what causes that kind of an issue for us. And we again received that legislative grant this year, and it's amazing when you give the opportunity to student leaders to take something and really embrace how to take that opportunity and move it forward. And Madison Carroll has just done an amazing job of not only bringing this opportunity and putting together a framework that would unleash the creativity of a lot of students within our system, but she also worked with 2 districts outside of our district through this statewide initiative. And she spearheaded a statewide summit and really has created the means for there to be a lot of student leadership in communities to bring about impact that the legislative grant was intended to produce. So it is my privilege to introduce Madison Carroll and let her tell you a little bit more about the work that she's been leading.
Thank you, Sarah. This project has been a really cool experience. It's been a long time coming, so it's nice to see it like all come together and to be able to share with every one of you. I don't know if I have control over the slideshow, so there we go, perfect. Okay, so our purpose, we just noticed that natural resources across the state of Minnesota are being negatively impacted by rapid development and overuse and misuse. And the time is right to educate and empower students to become stewards of natural resources so we can protect and advocate for our precious resources for future generations. This generation of students is passionate about inciting change for our resources, and they have a drive to protect our earth. Student summits, we were actually only able to have one, but our student summits we planned were convened to strategize, plan, and execute projects in their communities to promote resource conservation and protection of resources. Our goal is to promote replication of sustainability projects by sharing, is it on a timer? By sharing all projects on this website that can be accessed by schools and communities across the state and beyond through engaging student initiative and voice, collaborating across grade levels and spheres of knowledge, and committing to a common goal of the protection of our planet. So we had 10 teams of students that were accepted for grants, and they were tasked with creating a service project focused on environmental conservation and sustainability. We had ended up having 8 groups from North and South Campus combined, and then we got 2 awesome schools from Northern Minnesota to join our initiative, and they were very great in working with us, and they did a really good job on their projects as well. And grants of up to $2,000 were awarded to the 10 teams to complete their projects. We all convened in a summit in January to begin planning and executing the projects. And we plan to have a second summit in March. I believe it was right before spring break, or right after spring break, but because of our whole situation, we didn't end up getting to have that one, but it was really cool seeing everybody's results. Here's a picture from the first summit of everybody that was able to make it. It was a really cool experience, and everybody's projects, they started off really great and they completed even better. So like I said, the teams had 2 months to develop and progress on their projects. And then we collected all of their results and combined them into a website. The link to the website is there. But on the website, we had the tiles of each project. And if you clicked on each tile, they would have more details about what each group did and how they completed their projects, what they found, etc. So those are just some examples of projects that came about. We had a group studying the water levels in White Bear, a group that studied toilet inserts and was promoting them in the community to reduce water waste, another group called the Water Warriors, who's well known in the community, and they do the water walk, another group promoting sustainable silverware in our schools. They each had really unique and cool ideas, and it was really exciting to see them all really bring the idea of sustainability and environmental consciousness to life. So this website we created was for the Lead for Change Student Leadership Program Initiative. which gives students a jumpstart into the real world of leadership. With hopes that of the submission, we hope to receive a grant back to continue doing this and sending it off to future groups of students to do this again and expand the project. So we're hoping we'll hear back soon, see if we got that. We'll update everybody if we do. But yeah, so we just got to submit this, and it was a really fun and exciting way to, I guess, learn about leadership and how all this stuff goes into play. You know, I never really thought about applying for grants and creating websites, and now it's just a very cool way to learn all of this information. It was a great opportunity for students to really practice their skills and make a difference in their communities. So I just want to say thank you once again to Sarah. She's been my rock through this whole process. I've been leaning on her. She's amazing. She's the one that brought this up to me, and I would never have had this opportunity without her. Also, Megan, she's been really great. She helped so much with the website and the summits and everything. She's like our big organizer. It was great. And then Ben Butters and Jane Stonehouse were really great with just making sure that the project was running smoothly and everything was in line. And everybody just did a really great job. So I want to say thank you to all of them, and thank you to the school board and all of our other administrators for being so great and kind and accepting of our initiative.
Thank you, Ms. Carroll. Thank you, Ms. Paul. Thank you both for your work on this, and thank everybody else on the list for all their work. At this time, I will open it up to questions. Is there any board members that would like to make a comment or has a question? Ms. Ellison.
I just wanted to thank Ms. Carroll for all of this work. It's so many details to try to put something like this together. And so we are really proud of you and the work that you've done, and we will be sad to see you go.
Thank you.
All right.
I'm sad to be gone. I'll come back and visit.
Perfect. Ms. Beloit?
Yeah, I just wanted to say thank you to Ms. Carroll as well. I think the work that she's done on this is wonderful. I also wanted to see, for other students that want to get involved in this, who would they need to contact?
Yeah, so they could contact me. Ben Butters works in the district, and his contact is, I believe, also on the website, so he'd be a great resource to contact. But yeah, and also the website's just racetoreduce.org. All of our contact information's on there, as well as there is a slide that says opportunities for students to get involved further for other students. But yeah, me, Ben Butters, basically anybody on the website for contact would be a great resource to look to.
All right, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
All right, thank you. Is there any other questions or comments?
Yes, Chair Mullen, this is Dr. Arcan.
Dr. Arcan.
I would just like to say first to Dr. Paul, thank you for doing this. We know that when students can engage their passion and they can do real world situations, that it just shows tremendous growth in their learning. And that's really important for that. Ms. Carroll, I want to thank you because as the grandparent of 3 young grandchildren, I look forward to leaving them a planet and an environment that they can thrive and love. And like you said, right now I'm spending my time teaching them the importance of loving the outdoors and the wilderness. So people like you at such a young age taking action on this to ensure that they and future generations will have the resources that I've had to grow up with. I'm very proud of you doing that, and I thank you.
Sorry about that. I was having trouble on getting off mute. Thank you, Dr. Arcan. Are there any other comments? Okay. Hearing or seeing none, we'll move to our next informational item, which is C4, which is the superintendent's report. Dr. Kazmierczak.
All right, thank you, Chair Mullen, members of the board. So I'd like to first start off by introducing somebody. So Dr. Marcellus Davis is on the call with us, or on the meeting with us. So Dr. Marcellus Davis, he's been chosen to serve as the district's Director of Equity and Engagement. Dr. Davis, would you like to say hi and meet our board members virtually? This is a little bit of an unusual meeting, but we wanted you to have a chance to say hi.
Good evening, everyone.
All right, so any words of wisdom as you're thinking about coming in and joining White Bear?
Well, that picture is a better looking guy than this guy. So many years ago. Nothing more than I am extremely humbled and honored to be selected in this role, to work with you under your leadership, to work with the school board, to work on behalf of students, to work on behalf of parents and community and my fellow educated peers, to do the good work, to continue to work to build and continue to build foundations that will cultivate our seeds, our children, for years to come. So I'm ecstatic about being here. I keep telling everybody that I'm waking up in the middle of the night with new thoughts. July 1st can't come soon enough, but I also know I better be cautious in that as well, because the work will be plentiful in this new era of learning, teaching, and leading. So I take that in stride, and my ancestors have allowed me to be present. I prepared my life to be here, so I'm ready to get to work.
All right. Thank you.
Dr. Davis, if I can, Dr. Kazmierczak, I just want to welcome Dr. Davis to the school district. And, you know, there's a saying that we say a lot. And so just remember, go Bears.
Go Bears. I've seen them. I've been driving around the community trying to get lost and figure out new quick routes. So I know it's very clearly stated throughout the community. So go Bears.
Welcome.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Thank you for being on, Dr. Davis. We'll see you again. We look forward to seeing you in person.
Likewise.
All right. Okay. Next, the Coffee with Dr. K event looked a bit different on May 5th, with social distancing challenging us to come up with a virtual format for the quarterly check-in. Thank you to those who watched the live stream and submitted questions. For those of you who are interested in reading the questions that were addressed, please find answers in the Coffee with Dr. K news post on the district's website. The district recently launched a support hub, a resource available on our website to provide families with access to information they may need for essential services. Areas covered include important district resources, crisis services, basic needs, mental health and well-being, physical health, social emotional learning, and more. Find the link as an icon on the front page of the website under the Student Support Services Department or under Support on the school websites. The following May celebrations are being recognized. May is Better Hearing and Speech Month, School Lunch Hero Day, Teacher Appreciation Week, National School Nurse Day, and Memorial Day. So no school Memorial Day, and district offices are closed on that day. All right, so last Friday, and board members, I've shared this with you, but I wanted to announce it here as well. But last Friday, the Minnesota Department of Health and the Minnesota Department of Education issued guidance regarding graduation ceremonies. The recommendation to ensure the safety of all participants is that graduation should be observed at home. While this is certainly different than we envisioned ceremonies would look when the school year began, we are moving forward to build virtual ceremonies. The Transition Education Center and Area Learning Center graduation ceremonies will take place in a virtual format, with information being shared with families soon. The White Bear Lake Area High School commencement ceremony video will be live on the district's YouTube account at the time the commencement ceremony was originally scheduled, and that's 7:00 p.m. on Friday, June 5th. It will also be available for viewing at that time on the local cable SCC channel 19 or HD 801. And Bear recently sent a note home to all district students, complete with a motivational message and links to important resources. On behalf of Bear, who asked me to share this message, I'm proud of you all, and we've got this. So with that, back to you, Mr. Mullen.
Thank you, Dr. Kazmierczak. Are there any questions for Dr. Kazmierczak regarding the superintendent's report? All right. Seeing none, we will move into our first discussion item, D1, which is the first reading of school board policies. So I'll read off the policies and then ask for questions. Policy 415, the mandated reporting for maltreatment of vulnerable adults. Policy 535, service animals on school property. Policy 604, instructional curriculum. Policy 624, online learning options. And policy 806, crisis management policy. Are there any questions regarding those policies coming up for their first reading? Ms. Beloy.
Yeah, this may seem somewhat of a silly question, but as I read through the policy for the assistance animals, we're allowing dogs and miniature ponies. Is there a reason why it was those two as opposed to anything else? I just thought that was interesting.
For the service animals, 535?
Yes.
Service animals on school property. Dr. Kazmierczak?
Yeah, I'm gonna ask Lisa Oren to jump in.
Sure. I don't know if there's a specific therapeutic reason, but those animals are animals that were verified by the mental health institution as animals that could provide services to students with disabilities. And so that's just kind of the guidance that they've given us.
So no service cats or alligators or anything like
that? No, they're pretty clear on which animals fall within those parameters, and these are the two right now.
Okay. Thank you. That was kind of lighthearted because I just found it interesting. It was dogs and then miniature horses. So I've seen it. I think they're wonderful. I thought it was mildly amusing.
Yes, we have too.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Any other questions or comments? Okay, I just have one quick question, Dr. Kazmierczak.
And I do too.
Policy 624, the online learning, that's a new policy that was that started before the current crisis or the current pandemic, or was that started afterwards?
So policy 624 is the policy.
Online learning options?
Yep, that was the policy that was in place. Within the last year, if you recall, we talked about setting up a distance learning plan for when we had emergency closings due to weather. And so this is what's included in statute for that requirement. And so that's what this is from. This does not relate to the distance learning period that we're in right now. So this was prior to what we're in right now.
Okay. Dr. Newmaster.
I have one about the arts, and let's see, it's point C. I believe that's policy 604. Okay. And in C, I'm just reading through this, and it says elementary and middle schools shall offer at least 3 and require at least 2 of the following 4 arts areas. And I'm thinking of our elementary schools, and I know they offer music, and it varies whether they have theater, and I know volunteers, I don't know if that counts, do their best with visual arts. Does it have to be a separate thing that's taught by a teacher? Can it be volunteers? What are the specifics? I know middle school, I don't know if they have theater classes anymore, but they certainly have music and art in middle school, but I'm not sure about elementary.
Chair Mullen, can I jump in really quick on that? So Dr. Newmaster, as far as I know, in elementary, dance is part of the physical education standards and is incorporated in that way. So that one was added just a few years ago when the arts standards changed. So currently, I mean, if anybody has any other insight, but that's my understanding, is that dance is part of Phi-Ed.
And that's how they managed to meet that requirement then. Because they've always, I was at Lake Ayres back in the 70s, and they always had a short dance unit. But it's not like an arts class that goes on all year, or music, whether it's choir or band. So can they count two of the same thing? I'm thinking a lot of kids take band, and they do have a music teacher. But I'm not sure if a short, it must meet it. But I just wondered how much they really had to provide for elementary kids. So
Dr.
the
Kazmierczak,
Phi-Ed
do you have any
met the
follow-up?
requirement?
Dr. Kazmierczak, do you have a follow-up, or
I don't.
or is there any? Okay.
We can
Could you,
yeah.
Dr. Newmaster, I believe he is, did you hear what Dr. Kazmierczak said?
Not too clearly. I just wondered what met the requirements for elementary.
Yeah, we can certainly follow up with you. Let's see, is Sarah, are you around? She stepped out, so. Oh.
I know I'm liaison to Otter, and they have wonderful parent volunteers that present art. But that's why I'm wondering, can non-teaching staff meet the requirement for the state requirement?
Well, I don't.
Dr. Newman.
Yeah, I don't think that's what this is referring to, and I think that even within the any art offering, there's still a licensed teacher in the room doing that.
The classroom teacher may be there when the parent provides the art lesson that they get from MIA, the Minneapolis Institute of Art. But I was curious how they met that requirement of 2.
So if you're okay with this, Dr. Newmaster,
yeah.
I know that since this is just the first reading, I'm going to ask Dr. Kazmierczak to have Ms. Paul or someone else follow up with you, and that way that we can make sure any questions are answered before it comes up again next month for the next reading.
Sure, I just wondered what the state actually required. How much?
Okay.
Thanks.
Yeah, no problem. Are there any other questions regarding any of the policies coming up for their first reading? Hearing or seeing, looking for, I do not see any. Mr. Mons, did you have a comment?
No, I don't have a comment at the moment.
I'm sorry. Just if you click off of mute, I typically think that you have a comment, so I apologize. So other than that, I think what we'll do is we'll move on to our first operational item, E1, which is the action on the nutrition services prime vendor. Who is this? Mr. Wald, are you leading the charge on this one?
Yes, I will. Thank you, Chair Mullen, members of the board, Dr. Kazmierczak, Ms. Carroll. As participants in the USDA's National School Lunch Program, we're required to prepare an RFP at least every 4 years to secure a prime vendor to supply our grocery items, commodities, supplies for our programs. This is a significant contract, has a value of approximately $2.6 million. Selecting a prime vendor can be a complicated RFP. Our nutrition services coordinator, Bridget Lane, who is with us tonight, and she'll be able to answer any questions you might have. She uses guidance provided by the Minnesota Department of Education School Nutrition Program to create a point system for selecting our prime vendor. They consider things such as price, variety of product offerings, computer capabilities, customer service, experience and qualifications, and the overall plan submitted by the vendor. We had 3 companies that submitted proposals. The company that scored highest was Indian Head Food Service. They narrowly beat out Upper Lakes Foods. Indian Head is our current prime vendor, so there shouldn't be any significant changes in service or user experience. So our recommendation is that the school board authorize the award of prime food vendor to Indian Head Food Service distributor for the period of July 1st, 2020 through June 30th, 2022 at an estimated value $2.6 million with an option to renew for up to 2 additional years.
So before we get into questions, you've heard the recommendation. Is there a motion to do so?
So moved.
A motion by Dr. Arcan and a second by Mr. Chapman. Is there any discussion regarding the motion?
Mr. Mullen, I have a question.
Okay, Ms. Beloit.
Hi, so I was wondering if we created a point system for this bid, does that go against the lowest bidding policy that we have?
I'll turn this over to Ms. Lane, who coordinated our RFP.
Hi, everyone. This is not a bid. This is a request for proposal. So it is based 51% on price, but then the rest of it is based on other factors. So it does not need to go off of the lowest priced vendor.
So do we do a request for proposal on any other items outside of the nutritional services? Tim, Mr. Wald?
Yes. Yes, we do.
What would those areas be?
Well, it would be transportation contracts. It could be insurance agreements, construction agreements, or contracts.
So they're all requests for proposals. So everything we do, we have to request a proposal. But when we're deciding on these contracts, one of our obligations is the bidding or the price of the bid, correct? So I'm just wondering what the difference is between this and that policy.
Yeah. Well, you can set up criteria. The primary, in this case, as in most RFPs, price is the primary consideration. And so in the RFP is a point schedule, and so it's clear to the vendors as they bid, you know, the complexity of the RFP. So yeah, you can set criteria for your RFP.
So that technically we could set that particular, we could set up a point system for anything that we're requesting a proposal on. Is that correct?
Yeah, maybe Dr. Kazmierczak want to comment on that.
Well, I think maybe Ms. Lane, if you could talk a little bit more about how the Minnesota Department of Education provides guidance, and if the USDA does as well on this particular contract, that might be helpful.
Sure. So groceries are a little bit different than some of the other products we buy because it's a snapshot in time from the past, because we have no idea what the markets are going to be like in the coming years. So the price, for example, is based on the one we did just recently is based on the first full week in January and what the prices were at that time. And then we take, when it's bid out, it's bid on a fee per case basis. And that is how the prices are initially calculated, in that the lowest fee gets a certain amount awarded to it. And then we use a market basket. So we also don't do all of our products because we have hundreds of products that change all throughout the year. So we do a market basket, which is another snapshot in time. All vendors have to put in their proposal for that week, and that's how we get the prices. They have to put in any allowances that they might use, any accruals, any marketing money, and that is where the price comes into play. But for us, we also have to look at how do we get orders? Can they put them electronically online, or do they have to call them in or fax them in? We need it to be user-friendly for our staff to stay efficient. We also need to make sure there's no hidden fees in there. We found some where special orders are an additional 10% fee. So there's a lot of other things that come in to just a snapshot in time. We require deliveries twice a week. We need to make sure that the vendor can meet that. And so that's really the guidance that we're given, is price is the primary factor, but you also need to make sure that the vendor can meet all of your needs to be able to operate efficiently.
Okay, thank you.
Typically, when we do an
Sorry.
RFP, we're asking for something very specific, and food service is just much more complicated than most of what we're doing RFP for.
I will add that because it's a federal program, there's some pretty strict auditing criteria that we go through every year. So this process passes the auditing test that we have to go through, because federal dollars is a whole different set of requirements, and pretty strict. So our auditors do review our practices, and this is typically how we do this one. And actually, Bridget, I don't know if you remember, was this a relatively new process in the last 4 or 6 years? Did it change to this model?
This is the second time that I've worked with this model. So that would be 4 years that I've done it this way.
So can you tell me, this is Chair Mullen, I would ask, is the auditing process done by our auditors, or is there a federal department that handles that audit?
Our auditor, so MMK.
Our auditor?
Yeah, as part of the annual audit, they audit our federal programs as well, including nutrition services.
Yep. And then I'm audited secondly as a procurement audit as part of my every 3 to 5 year school nutrition audit as well from MDE and USDA.
Okay. Is there any other comments? Any other questions? Hearing or seeing none, this will require a roll call vote. Would the clerk please read the roll?
Newmaster.
Aye.
Thompson.
Aye.
Arcand.
Aye.
Beloit.
Aye.
Chapman.
Aye.
Ellison. Aye. Mullen.
Aye.
That was an aye from Mullen.
Yes, aye. Okay, the motion passes. We will now move on to our next operational item, E2, which is the action on the proposed contract with SEIU Local 284 White Bear Lake Extended Day. Is this Mr. Mons?
It is indeed. Yes. Good evening, Chair Mullen and members of the board. I was so excited to present this item that's why I had unmuted myself 2 agenda items too early. But to hop into this, I am excited because this is the last agreement that I'll be bringing to the board in this round of collective bargaining. And I would like to say thank you very much to our district bargaining team, especially Rebecca Edberg, Tom Mazorik, and Tim Wald, for all the work that they put in, including in getting this last agreement settled. And then I'd also like to say a heartfelt thank you to the negotiations team on behalf of our extended day group and SEIU Local 284 for engaging in a really positive, solution-oriented process. So we're happy to see that a trend continued across this bargaining cycle to see settlements come in a way that I believe is positive and has improved our relationships moving forward here. So a thank you to both teams for the outcome here and present the settlement for board approval.
Thank you, Mr. Mons. I know that there is a resolution that would go along with this. I would ask the clerk to please read the resolution, and then from there I will entertain a motion. Clerk, please read the resolution.
Whereas the parties have reached a tentative agreement on the 2019-21 contract. Whereas the School Service Employees SEIU Local 284 Extended Day Unit have ratified the contract. Then be it hereby resolved that the School Board of Independent School District 624 approves the 2019-2021 agreement and authorizes the chair and clerk to execute the agreement on behalf of the school board.
You've heard the resolution. Is there a motion to do so?
So moved. Marge Newmaster.
A motion by Dr. Is there a second?
Second.
A second, Mr. Chapman. any question regarding the motion or the resolution? Hearing or seeing none, this will require a roll call vote. Would the clerk please read the roll?
Newmaster,
Aye.
Thompson,
Aye.
Arcand,
Aye.
Beloit,
Aye.
Chapman,
Aye.
Ellison, aye. Mullen.
Aye. Okay, the motion is passed, and we will execute the agreement. Moving on to our last operational item, E3, which is the bid specifications consideration. Before we get into this, Dr. Kazmierczak, I would ask that you provide some clarification on the question, making sure that I would not be against the resolution that the board passed a couple weeks ago. I want to make sure that there's clarification, probably from Mr. Mons as general counsel, just regarding what my role should be.
All right. I will take a stab at that, and then Matt, if you want to jump in if I forget something. But so the conversation tonight, when we're talking about project labor agreements, it would be a recommendation that Mr. Mullen, you would just refrain from commenting on that. But as we talk about prevailing wage, you would certainly absolutely would be free to comment on that. So I think it's just a delicate balance, and so we'll talk about both. So I think that's how we would just proceed. It's important. It's important that you're part of the conversation regarding prevailing wage, obviously, and then in light of the action of the board from the previous meeting, then when it relates to project labor agreement, you would just refrain from that. I don't know if Matt.
Okay, so what?
That's correct. I don't have anything to add. I think that's exactly right.
So then I would say if the conversation moves into discussion of any project labor agreement, then I would ask Vice Chair Chapman to, I will just turn it over to him before the conversation continues to move. And then that way we can make sure that all the needs of the resolution have been met.
Yeah. Sounds good.
Okay, with that, then with that, we will, I will turn it over to you.
Okay, I'll kick it off here. So as a result of the successful bond referendum last fall, the district will be soliciting bids for construction projects now on a more regular basis. So tonight, I've asked Mr. Wald to be ready to just give an overview of projects that are upcoming, so you have a sense for where we're at in that process. And then with the school board's recent discussions about project labor agreements and prevailing wage, the administration is looking for direction from the school board on how to proceed with bid specifications. And specifically, we're looking for direction from the school board on whether the bid specifications for upcoming construction projects should include either a project labor agreement requirement and or a prevailing wage requirement. So that's where we're at. If, maybe at this point, I would ask Mr. Wald to just talk briefly about what projects are on the horizon in terms of when they might be bid.
Sure, I can do that. We have quite a few projects that have been through the schematic phase and are now approaching, approaching the bid phase. We have a project at ALC, that would be the first one out of the chute. That one will be ready to go next week. The construction being in July and August. That'll be about a $400,000 project. South Campus Gym Addition, that will be bid in early June. That's a $6 million project. Construction for that project will begin in October. The Lincoln Elementary project, the RFP will be in August. That's an $8 million project. In fact, all of the remaining projects at Matoska, Vadnais, and Willow, all of those will go out for bid in August, and construction will begin in October.
Okay, Dr. Kazmierczak, do you have anything else that you need to add?
Thank you, Mr. Wald. I'm sorry, I was trying to hit my mute button. But
I'll just add one more thing, and that's that Jason Peterson from Krause Anderson is with us tonight too. So if we have any specific questions regarding construction and phasing of our projects, Jason would be happy to help answer any questions.
all right, and so yeah, I guess that's where we're at. We've mentioned this before, but we have, for the last several years, we've included prevailing wage as part of the specifications. So that would be one of the questions tonight about continuing that practice. That'll be part of the conversation here as well. So.
Okay, from there, I think that there's probably some talk to ask. Is there any? Let's answer questions first. I think Ms. Ellison, do you have a question?
I do have a point of order question. So there's no recommendation, because usually we vote on the recommended course of action from leadership. And it sounds like there's two things we're talking about here tonight. We're talking about project labor agreements and we're talking about prevailing wage. So my question about point of order is, do we need to then make a motion separately for those two things so that we can have a discussion about one and then have and vote and then have a discussion about the other?
Well, I think that would certainly separate the two issues, and then we could proceed that way. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay, did that answer your question, Ms. Ellison?
It does. It does. So then, is this the time for me to make a motion then, and then we discuss?
Well, I think that we should
or discuss first.
I think let's have a discussion and answer questions, and then we can kind of move through the pieces, because I know Ms. Beloit, I'm assuming that Ms. Beloit has a question, and I want to make sure everybody's able to answer their questions if they have those, and then we can look for a motion. How's that?
Okay, good. Thank you.
Ms. Beloit, did you have a question?
Yeah, I was wondering, I've been doing a lot of research on prevailing wage and PLAs, and in regards to the PLAs, are we able to, if we are going to use prevailing wage on all of the projects that are coming from the funding from the bond referendum, I know that there's different ways that we can assure that our prevailing wage commitment is being upheld. And I know one of those was that you can post prevailing wage information at construction sites. And I want to know if that's something that we would be willing to do as a district. Mr. Wald, Mr. Kazmierczak.
That might be a question Jason Peterson would have more experience with. And Jason, you want to share any insights on that?
Tim, could I ask her to repeat that last part of that question, just so I understand that correctly, what the question was?
So my overall question is, I just want to make sure that if we decide to go with prevailing wage, which the district has been doing for, as far as I know, for all the construction projects that we've been doing, but going forward for all of the projects that use the bond referendum funds, if we're making the commitment to use prevailing wage, one of the ways that we can ensure that the workers from all the different construction areas know what those prevailing wages, those can be posted at each of the construction sites so that people can come in and know what those wages are. So I know one of the concerns is that some of these people could be underpaid, they could be paid under the table, they might not know what their rights are, they may not know what the wages are. So if we're going to commit to prevailing wage, is that one of the things that we can commit to doing?
Okay, yes, thank you. So yes, they could be, those can be posted, but also will be posted in the bidding specifications. So if the district decides to go prevailing wage, those rates are part of the bidding documents. So each trade knows what that prevailing wage is for this area. We also It's a matter of depending on the contractors, but we can request certified payroll throughout the project. So we get certified documents proving that contractors are paying their workers what the agreement is. So we receive that information each month as well, and we will manage and track that on behalf of the district.
And I think those are two great ways of sort of getting into it beforehand, but we all know that, well, sometimes people can do underhanded things, and I just want to make sure that if that's something that we go with, that we're also giving the workers the opportunity to know what's been agreed upon, because as a district, we are giving them the information, not the employer. Does that make sense?
Yeah, yes. Yep. No, that makes sense.
But
that is something that we can do. Yeah. Yep.
Okay. Thank you.
Jason, as a follow-up question that I have is that, so I just want to make sure you're indicating that those rates would then be posted on the job site, because a lot of the times the workers don't get to see the bid spec, right? They go inside to an office and there's somebody else that is managing that. And even though the rates are made available in the bid spec, and I appreciate that, I think that's great. But I want to make sure that they'll also be posted on the job site.
Yeah, I don't see a reason they couldn't. Typically, I don't know that we typically do that, but there's nothing that says we can't do that. So if that was something that requested the district, that could be posted on the project sites.
As a follow-up to that too, one of the things that I think about is, especially around students and a lot of this work, I mean, there's a lot of work that's going to be done, and I think about the security of the students being done. So do you guys keep a tab or a ledger of what workers are on the job site?
Yeah, so we in each site, the complexity of the job sites varies, but we will have contractors will check in, they'll badge in at the construction trailer, and then they'll wear a construction badge throughout the project. So if they're entering the building or doing work inside the building, that's typically when we use that process. If there's somebody outside, not in the building, and that's a discussion that we would have site specific. But yeah, we would keep a log of each of the contractors that are working on the site.
Well, not only the contractors, but the workers also?
The individuals, yeah.
Okay.
The trades members, yep.
And then the last kind of question I had, and I've asked this several times at other projects, for enforcement of prevailing wage, who will be responsible for the enforcement of the prevailing wage, if that's the decision of the board?
So when it comes to the contract, so if we go through and we're requesting that certified payroll and we track that, we would work with the district if there was any issues or breach in that agreement. We would work through that with the district and or your legal counsel to get that resolved.
Okay, thank you.
And that is our standing operating procedure on construction projects. We've required prevailing wage in the past, and then we worked with our owner's rep to validate that companies is indeed paying the prevailing wage.
I have a question.
Dr. Newmaster.
We've had a lot of discussions over the winter until now about the benefits of PLAs and prevailing wages. And I understand, if I understand this correctly, that prevailing wage is something we've normally done, but it's not as robust as a PLA. And a lot of the requests we had from people, and Marissa just read requests from quite a few people in our community, are also asking about this as they supported this fund. And there's been such a number of people asking for input time. And I'm just wondering, with Mr. Wald saying that this next bid is going out next week, is there even time to discuss it, or is that one would that one be going with whatever is set up, and the ones that follow it, all the big ones that were just listed, if those are contracts or jobs that would be public commentary as people talk money that they've authorized and what they want to see us doing for the workers in our community and the families. So is this already set to go, or is it still something there's public input? I'll turn my mic off. I'm done. I don't know if you could hear me.
Sorry, Marge. I was trying to unmute myself again. For some reason, my iPad's acting up tonight, so I apologize. Dr. Kazmierczak or Mr. Wald, do you want to take a stab at that question? I think she's asking regarding the 30 days that we've been receiving so many emails regarding.
Jessica, did you want to say something? No.
No, go ahead, Dr. Kazmierczak. I'll follow up when you're done answering.
Specific to the request to delay by 30 days, that is not something that is in our practice, and that's not something that's required. We are planning to move ahead with the projects as the schedule was laid out, unless we hear otherwise tonight. But so, I mean, the request for the 30 days is not something that we've done before, and it's not something that we would recommend doing now. We anticipate moving ahead following our discussion tonight, but again, I'm open to additional conversation about that, but there is not a requirement for a 30-day public comment period when we're issuing construction contracts, if that's your question.
I guess that was part of my question, and I also wondered about the benefits of a PLA versus prevailing wage. So has it been decided by administration, or is that an open?
That's an open question that we're asking. We're asking for direction from the board tonight on how you wish to proceed based on the discussions that you've had the last couple of months anyway.
Mr. Chairman, I have a statement or a question.
Ms. Beloit.
Yeah, I actually followed up an email with Mrs. Dietrich today regarding the 30-day period. I guess when that came out, it gave me the impression that no matter what we decided, there was some kind of state statute that provided a 30-day period for public comment, but that 30-day comment, when she provided me the information of the statute, it's in regards to if we decided to go with a PLA. So if that information helps Marge, that's what that was in regards to. If anybody else wants to add anything to that, that was the information that I looked up based on Mrs. Dietrich's information that she gave me today.
Okay, are there
Don, could I jump in for just a moment there?
Sure.
I'd just like to make a very quick clarification that what you would actually be discussing if the board was to move forward in a direction to attempt to negotiate a PLA, then it would be a public notice requirement, not a public comment requirement. So I just wanted to make that clarification that there's not a public comment requirement regardless of the direction the board would choose to pursue. Even if the board chose to pursue going down the route of a PLA. That would then mean that after a PLA was negotiated, there would need to be 30 days public notice at that time.
Thank you, Mr. Mons. Are there any other questions or comments? Ms. Ellison?
Yeah, I have a couple of things that I want to follow up on. And forgive me, I took some notes so that I would make sure I got this right. So I appreciate all the public feedback and feedback from our teachers about the comment period. As Dr. Kazmierczak said, that hasn't been our practice. And if we open up to a 30-day comment period, does that set a precedent that might be challenging for us in the future. And I went back and I looked at the last kind of big projects that we approved. On April 13th, we approved 2 roofing bids for $1.6 million total. And then on February 10th, we approved roofing bids for a total of almost $1.4 million. That's a significant amount of money, that we're spending on these roofs. And we do this consistently, whether it's windows or doors or what have you. And I feel like our tradition in White Bear not only is to require prevailing wage, but also to trust the professionals in our cabinet and administration to do their jobs, to work with Kraus Anderson, to demonstrate that they are going to uphold high standards. We've done that in the past, and we have a reputation for being financially responsible. I mean, our bond rating is very high. I know that, we are looked at as a district who is responsible with our community's dollars. So I guess the point that I'm trying to make here is I don't see any reason why, after the public has just trusted us with this bond referendum, that we would diverge from that. And that I feel like I appreciate the comments that we've received, but I don't know that it would be in our best interest to open it up for a public comment period before we start this process. And so I guess I would like to move forward to make decisions about both of these things, with the understanding that, we trust our teachers as professionals. We trust the people we hire as professionals, and we have set a standard in this district that I think we're going to stick to, that we will stick to. And we have Kraus Anderson to support us along the way.
Ms. Thompson, did you have a comment?
I do have a couple comments. One is that I believe one of our missions in this district is to be good community stewards of our community. We have asked for their input on just about everything we have done in our strategic planning and our equity building, and we have asked for their opinion and their support for this bond referendum. We went to them for several months asking for their input and their opinion, and asking for them to trust us with their money. And now we are at a point where we are spending an enormous amount of money, of their money. And I feel that all we are being asked by the community and also by our fellow teachers who have sent us emails as well, is to allow our community to put in their voice for 30 days. I don't see how that would affect the future of building, as we are only in the designing phase. It would not affect any current bids that we would need to do. For that, it seems like we all have good support for the prevailing wage to move forward. It appears anyways. And I feel like not giving our community, especially after what happened in our last meeting where we passed the resolution based on what the community will say. But then we're not going to allow the community to have their moment to say what supposedly was the reason for the whole resolution. So I really feel that it is important that we allow the community to have those 30 days to put in the input of how they feel would be the best way for us to move forward with this. It's 24 years, right? We're spending this money, their money, for 24 years. People that will move into our district will be affected by this. Not only that, it also affects people who don't have kids in our district, because it'll affect people for the senior community center that we're going to build and all the other wonderful community things that we do for people that live in our district but may not have children in the district any longer, or have moved into our district in their retirement years because they love our community. And and they're here now to spend the rest of their lives in our community. I think we owe it to all of them to allow them to have their voices be heard. This is what we do. It doesn't say that we don't trust in our administration. It says that we trust in our administration's work towards building the community together as a community. So I think all it is saying that we have always said that we feel the community is a part of our district and we want your input on everything. This is one of the reasons why we create wonderful, great community groups where community members who either have children in the district or don't have children in the district but are here get their chance to have their voices be heard. This is just one measure allowing them 30 days to let their voices be heard on what we will do with it is a very large referendum that we passed with their support. So now I believe it would only be our responsibility to allow them to let their voices be heard here. So I'm not sure how motions work or anything because I'm new to this whole game and it's been quite a few first couple of months for me. But if this is the time, I also have a motion that I would like to entertain, and it would be a motion to allow a public 30-day comment period to allow our community to provide input regarding the further building specifications that we are going to let them entrust us with their passing of the bond referendum. If it's not appropriate to do that now, whenever the appropriate time would be, that's one of the motions that I would entertain to move.
Chair Mullen?
Oh, yes, Ms. Floyd.
I think we need to be more specific with the motion. Are we specifically talking about a 30-day period to talk about a PLA, or are we talking about a 30-day period to talk about both whether or not a PLA or prevailing wage should be used? What specifically are we having this motion for?
Well, I would just say that I think that earlier the conversation with Ms. Ellison was that there would be two motions. I know that I think, and I would look to Mr. Mons to give me some clarification on how that should look, because if it's a motion to either use prevailing wage or not to use prevailing wage, then we should take that. And then if there's a motion, there's an additional motion to allow a 30-day comment period from the community, then I think that's a separate motion, in my opinion, unless I'm missing. And so I would look for some clarification from our council regarding such.
I would suggest that Ms. Reber is actually the Robert's Rules aficionado in the room. However, that being said, I believe that those could certainly be taken individually in either order there.
Okay, so then do we want to hear a motion to use prevailing wage on upcoming construction projects?
Can I ask one more question?
Sure, Dr. Newmaster.
Okay, I just thought I asked before, and I'm still a little fuzzy about it. If we make a motion to say we want to use prevailing wage on all of our projects, that's a good ethical thing to do, but does that mean you can't say you also want PLAs to be used? Does one mean you're not doing the other? That was what I was trying to ask, because it seems to me the PLAs are more robust than the prevailing wage arrangements. So if we were to move to do a PLA, I mean a prevailing wage, does that mean it's done?
Can I
That's
comment?
what I wanted clarity.
Can I comment, Chair Mullen? This is Arkan.
You're on mute, Don.
Sorry. I just want to get clarification. Dr. Arkan, I promise I will let you talk, but I want to make sure I can get Marge's question answered by our council, by Mr. Mons, just to clarify that, and then I'll come back to you and make sure you are able to comment. So, Mr. Mons.
I'm going to rely on the other administrators in the room as well, because this is certainly not an area of deep expertise for me. It's not my understanding that these are mutually exclusive.
Okay. Dr. Kazmierczak, do you want to add a comment there, or?
No, I believe that's accurate. Yeah.
Okay. Dr. Arcand, did you have a comment?
No, I was just going to say the same thing, that a prevailing wage, approving of that, does not then say we can't do something else. And I believe in a lot of project labor agreements, prevailing wage is usually part of it. So it's not, yeah, when they say it's not exclusive, I think you can comfortably approve a prevailing wage and move forward without anything else.
Sorry, I keep putting myself on mute because I don't want to catch the backlash, so I apologize. So with that being said, how about we do this? Is there a motion to indicate that we want to use prevailing wage on these upcoming projects?
Chair Mullen?
Ms. Floyd.
Yeah, I would like to make a motion to approve adopting a policy of using prevailing wage for all construction projects that use funds from the 2019 bond referendum.
Okay, is there you've heard the motion, is there a second?
Marge Newmaster, I would second that.
Dr. Newmaster seconds. Is there any other discussion regarding the motion? Ms. Ellison, did you have discussion?
Ms. Beloit, could you send me the text of the motion that you just read so that I can make sure I get it right for the minutes?
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Okay, you've heard the motion. Is there any other discussion? Hearing or seeing none, I would ask the clerk to please call the roll.
I apologize. Could I ask a brief clarifying question?
Of course,
I just wanted to make sure that it wasn't the board's intention to include in the scope of this resolution the idea of how we'd be going out to bid for projects related not necessarily to the referendum, but also to long-term facilities maintenance that we'd be doing along the same sequence.
So you would ask then, I would ask Ms. Beloit to and please help me, to amend her motion to include use a policy to use prevailing wage on construction projects. Would that suffice? Would that suffice?
These would be on.
Yeah, I just wanted to make sure that the intention was clear for what you'd like in terms of scope.
Yeah, my intention is that these should be future construction projects that are based on the passage of the bond referendum and would not include the long-term the LTFM funds. Long-term maintenance funds. Switch that around.
So, but typically that's the way that we've always done our construction work.
Yeah.
Floyd, so I would ask that we include all construction work because we've typically done that, and that we set a policy saying that we're going to use prevailing wage on our construction work. Is that not your intent?
Well, my only intent was to cover in my motion what we are going to be building under the funds that we receive from the bond referendum. If I don't want to go outside that scope, if we're already using prevailing wage on everything else, then I think that's fine. But I want to specifically make a motion regarding the bonds usage, the bond fund usage. And
well,
I don't want to go outside that scope.
Okay, so then I would ask that you with a friendly amendment saying that we would include all construction work, including that work, because we typically have used that process up to this date. Any work that is done under the long-term facility maintenance it's been our practice to use prevailing wage, and I would ask us to continue to do so in the manner that we've done that and set a policy saying that same thing. So I would just ask for a friendly
if we want to do another motion that does that, that's fine, but I would like to separate those motions. If I'd be more than happy to make another motion, but I'd like to separate those two motions so that we know the scope of one and the scope of the other.
Okay. So, you've heard a motion and a second. Any other discussion?
Chair Mullen?
Yes, sir, Mr. Chapman.
Just want to
if you could clarify with me what exactly the motion is. I just want to make sure that I've got it down.
So from
Would you
my
like me to read
understanding,
it again?
no, hold on a second. From my understanding, Ms. Beloit has asked for a motion to approve using prevailing wage on all upcoming bond referendum construction projects. Is that correct, Ms. Beloit?
Yes.
And Dr. Newmaster has seconded that motion.
Yes, I did.
Okay.
And I'll be glad to make another motion to include everything else we do next.
Mr. Chapman, did you have any other questions?
No, that takes care of it. I just, between the two different motions that we were talking about, I wasn't sure which one we were on at the moment. So, okay, thank you.
Okay. And the clerk, is there any other discussion regarding said motion? So I just have one clarifying question, and Jody, this is probably for you. As far as agenda goes, are we able to now make additional motions after this motion so that we can include construction projects per Robert's Rules of Order?
Yes, I
Because
believe
we've
you
already,
can.
okay.
Because you can
Thank you.
add that.
Thank you very much, Jody. With that being said, we have a motion and a second. With no other discussion, I would ask the clerk to please call the roll.
Newmaster,
Aye.
Thompson,
Aye.
Arcand,
Aye.
Lloyd,
Aye.
Chapman,
Aye.
Ellison, aye. Mullen.
Aye. Okay, the motion passes. With that, Ms. Beloit, do you have a motion that you would like to make?
I can do it, or Marge can do it. Marge, would you like to?
Well, I can, but I think you probably have the wording better. I would just like to amend or make a separate motion to continue our practice of using prevailing wage standards for all of the projects that we have, whether it's long-term maintenance or construction, since that is our past practice.
Okay, you've heard the motion from Dr. Newmaster that we use prevailing wage. We set a policy to use prevailing wage on all of our construction for all of our construction for the school district. Is there a second on that motion?
I'll second. This is Arcand.
Second by Dr. Arcand. Is there any discussion regarding this agenda, this item? Hearing, Ms. Ellison, do you have a thing? Did you have a comment?
Nope, just ready to call the roll.
Okay, Ms. Beloit?
Nope, just getting ready for the roll call.
Okay, with that, I would ask the clerk to please call the roll.
Newmaster,
Aye.
Thompson,
Aye.
Arcand,
Aye.
Lloyd,
Aye.
Chapman,
Aye.
Ellison, aye. Mullen.
Aye. Okay, the motion passes, and then I know that Ms. Thompson, did you have an item that you would like to bring up for motion?
Yes, I would like to so move for a 30-day public comment period to allow the community to provide input regarding further building specifications in an effort to show that we are continuing our good stewardship towards the community's investment.
Okay, you've heard the motion. Is there a second regarding the motion? I will second the motion just so we can get it on the table and have a discussion. So I would ask for the discussion and say, Ms. Thompson, can you spell out a clarification of what the intent for the 30-day comment period would be?
Without further inclusion of, I just feel like we need to we've received a lot of communication from the community, including our teachers. You know, we require our teachers to have licensure and go through training to do the job that they do. I just feel like it's important to make sure that the work being done in our district is handled properly. And I just feel like before we decide any further discussion on a PLA use or not use, that we just allow a 30-day public comment period, as has been requested by many community members, including some of our own staff.
So I would ask for clarification from Mr. Mons then regarding this, because of the comments that were made. I do not want to get myself in that slippery slope. So can you?
I would suggest, Chair Mullen, that you would not be a part of voting for or seconding that motion, in that it relates directly to PLA.
So with that being
and
said,
I would second it.
Dr. Newmaster, please hold on one second. With that being said, Mr. Chapman, I would ask you to take over the chair position so that I can recuse myself from this conversation.
Will do.
Can I just point out one point, and that's if there was a 30-day waiting period, that would delay our ALC project.
Could I just comment on that? Isn't that a current bid that would go out that would just now be a part of the requirement to use prevailing wage, and it wouldn't actually affect what happens further down the road?
I'm going to suggest that we would not delay any projects that are already on schedule and in queue. I would suggest we continue with those.
I'd put my 2 cents worth in and say I like the transparency and the participation that we've encouraged all along over the last 2 or 3 years. But I would not want to pause the ALC project, which sounds like it's ready to launch. But I think as we're going into the next several years, this is a good time to allow community members to really say, yes, we support this type of effort. Because I know people worry about opinion and costs. So I think public support, comment, criticism, whatever, accept it and consider it. So that I think they trust us, but we certainly had a lot of information coming in.
Chair Chapman, permission to obtain the floor.
Go ahead, Dr. Arcand.
The first thing about a 30-day wait period that's not going to work, and I'm wondering if we're going to move this way, can we amend it? I believe our next board meeting in June is less than 30 days. So if we do that, our next meeting, is it the actual regular board meeting is June 8th? Is that correct? So by 30 days, it pushes us past that, and now we're in July to make a decision. So that would be my first concern, that the 30 days won't work. My next concern is, I realize this is a big building project, but the question I'm asking, are we setting a precedent that every decision we make now must go to the public, and now we have to get input? And we do want input, and that is our job as board members, to collect input from our constituents in the school district. And that, you know, we actually operate on a republic, which means they elect us to represent them. And so that's the way it's supposed to work. And I'm concerned by going through a 30-day wait period, we're going to miss the next board meeting, and we're going to be in July. And we're also then going to set ourselves up for every major decision having to go back to the public. Thank you. I yield the floor back.
Chair Chapman, this is Ms. Beloyd.
Go ahead, Ms. Beloyd.
Yeah, I would concur with Dr. Arcand. I feel like even just today, we've heard the same opinion probably multiple times, and I think I have a pretty good understanding of the opinions on both sides. And we've also been researching this and thinking about this question for quite a bit of time now. I know I myself have done a whole lot of research, some extensive research into PLAs and the underlying arguments for and against. And I actually read through the presidential orders under both President Bush and Obama that related to PLAs. And I read through several House hearings on House resolutions relating to PLAs. So I feel like I've gotten a good dose of both sides. So I'm not sure that extending the period out for 30 days is going to tell us anything differently than we've already been hearing. I appreciate that everybody has their opinion, but I think at this point we know what those opinions are. And I think we really need to use the research that we've been doing over the past couple of months and move forward, because I don't think those opinions are going to change one way or the other. And I think we just need to make a decision at this point so we can move forward. Thank you.
Ms. Ellison?
Yeah, I concur with Ms. Bloyd and Dr. Arcand. I hadn't considered the idea yet of this pushing us back into July, Dr. Arcand, so thank you for bringing that up. But, you know, I agree with Ms. Thompson that we are here to be good stewards for our community, but I believe that we have been good stewards and we've listened and we have given opportunity for people to give their beliefs and opinions. But I also don't believe that with every decision that the school board makes, you know, that I'm afraid that this will open it up to being something that we will need to do. And I feel in this case, this is the board responsibility to take all the information that we've gathered for the last 5 months, really, and not to change course and change the process here to open up a 30-day comment period. I also have done a lot of research and a lot of reading and listening, and we represent thousands and thousands of families in the school district. And I believe that we have done our due diligence, and it's time for us to move on so that these projects don't get delayed. And I feel really good about the fact that we just approved sticking with prevailing wage. I think that shows a connection and belief in our community that we honor the workers and our financial responsibility. So I agree. I think we should move forward.
Are there any other? Oh, Ms. Thompson.
Yes, I could amend the motion to include a public comment period until the next board meeting. I don't think that infringes on proceeding with the prevailing wage on jobs that are upcoming. You know, it's funny to me that we went to the community extensively to get this bond passed. As discussions first started, we had one meeting. The meeting was brought to us where we had representation brought to us that had a little bit, in my opinion anyways, a bias against what we are currently discussing with the use of a PLA. And then COVID happened. We haven't had any opportunity to be together in person. Community has not been allowed to come to board meetings in person to express their opinion or to show their support or their lack of support for a project labor agreement, which would normally have happened in this situation had we been in a normal situation, which we have not been. We have been dealing with a pandemic, which has stopped a lot of these discussions. So for me, I don't feel like we have had proper discussion on this topic other than to discuss whether or not certain board members should not have the right to discuss this topic at all. While last week the decision was made that I do not have any legal disagreements that can stop me from talking about this subject. There was not anything found that would give a right to take away my voice. It was so moved that my voice should possibly not be heard, which to me is saying we can't legally take your voice away, but we would prefer you did not have a voice in this discussion. To me, that says a lot. And I feel like that happening, it was live streamed. People have watched it. People are now sending us their worry that they should have a right to have a voice in this matter. If we were holding meetings in public, they would have that voice. And I could definitely change the motion to allow the public comment period to happen until our next board meeting. And then we could decide from there. I don't think that, I'm not sure what the research is. I don't want to discredit the research. I'm sure the research was wonderful research. I don't know where everybody stands on this subject, so I don't know where everybody would vote, but I do believe that we went to the community. I was at several community gatherings where we brought the community together to give them the right to talk about any concerns they had with the referendum. It was all about community discussion. Now we're saying we don't want the community discussion to be involved in our decisions on how we ensure that the money is properly spent. Prevailing wage does a lot of great things. It certainly does, but it doesn't do everything. And the one thing that the PLA does, that in my opinion is a good thing that it does, is it requires a few other things to happen, such as proper trained, skilled labor to be on the job. It also requires that we hire skilled labor equitably, which is something that we are doing in our district all the time. Every time we talk about our hiring numbers, we bring in the equity of it. And we ask, how that is being handled, how we are properly ensuring that we are equitably hiring individuals into our district. I don't understand, I guess, why we shouldn't allow our community, who have come forward in pretty good numbers recently, to have their chance to speak. So I would so move that we allow, I guess I don't know what the exact day count is before our next board meeting, but I would change the motion that we allow a public comment period to happen up until our next board meeting. I guess if somebody could, I could try to figure out what the actual timeline would be on that, but I could change the motion to involve that.
I just want to clarify that I wasn't saying that we don't want the public opinion, and the public has had an opportunity in the exact same way to participate as they would have in any school board meeting if they follow the processes of the public forum, which is the only way that people can interact with the board at board meetings. And so I guess I would respectfully disagree that the process has been the same and that people have had ample opportunity to send us communication and through the public forum. So I just wanted to clarify that I'm not saying we don't want public opinion. I'm saying that with this particular situation, we need to move forward and say, thank you for your feedback. I have read all of it. I've listened to all of it, and it's time to move forward.
Could I just add one more point of order there, I guess, is we have discussed it in our work study meetings. The public is not allowed to have their input heard in our work study meetings. As far as our board meetings have gone, we have not had the proper discussion in those. We have, yes, several times discussed them in the closed work study meetings, but not so much in these open public forum methods that I can recall anyways.
Respectfully, that's not how it works. There's a process where the public can come forward and offer their opinions, and we heard that tonight. That was what was read tonight. That's the public forum. We've also received emails. We've also received phone calls. That's the forum. There isn't a forum that allows for everyone to come in and say everything they want to say for as long as they want to say it. That's not the process. So respectfully, that's just not what the process is, and I just disagree with that statement.
I'd like to just clarify. something.
Dr. Newmaster, if I could interject here. I just want to remind all of the board to please wait to be recognized so that we don't get into kind of a free-for-all discussion here and start talking over each other and all of that kind of stuff. So please, please use board etiquette going forward. Dr. Newmaster.
Okay. A quick recap about input. We're talking different kinds of input. Board forum is very specific, and we had probably several thousand people represented in the comments that were read tonight. And they were very clear what they said. But we also had a real diverse group over the years putting in the sorts of things they wanted with our mission statement, with our equity statement, and then with all the plans that we made. So that's the kind of input. The emails that people sent to us talked about a public comment time, and none of us want construction to be slowed, but we also want to make sure that the options are there. And I think the prevailing wage motion at least sets a basic standard and did not eliminate any other possibility of adding a higher standard to what we might require for some future projects that are being planned. So however people want to make comments on that, I think some members of the board, especially who want to be given some guidance on that or input, maybe not. But I think the board forum and the emails do a good job. I'm not sure the 30 days, what that was. That's why I asked Mr. Mons earlier where that fit in. And I'm glad to know by moving for prevailing wage, that was a good start. Things are at least off and running to a certain extent. But as we plan for the future, maybe it doesn't hurt to see how many people support one or would not support future projects. But I don't think we need to slow things down because there's a lot on our plates. So that's it.
Chair Chapman, I have a point of question.
Go ahead,
So
Doctor.
can we get clarification then? I looked it up, and our next board meeting is June 8th, regular meeting. I was just asking for clarification what the motion is then moving forward.
Ms. Thompson, did you want to restate your motion?
Sure. I would restate the motion to authorize a public comment period prior to the board meeting on June 8th to allow the community to provide input regarding further building specifications.
Okay, thank you.
Chair Chapman, and then I just have one more point of question.
Okay, go ahead.
What does that look like? How are we collecting it? How are they, if we did this, how will we collect the information during this pandemic?
I will need to defer to Dr. Kazmierczak or Dr. Wald on that.
Well, at this point, we wouldn't have any sort of a special meeting. I guess it would all be done via electronic means or phone call. So unless something changes after the stay-at-home order expires.
Thank you, Dr. Kazmierczak. I think I elevated you, Mr. Wald, to doctor level, if I remember right. But
I'll enjoy it for just a moment, but it's certainly not warranted.
All right. Okay. Any further? Well, I guess there's a motion on the table, and is there a second, I guess, to that motion?
Mark seconded it.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay, Dr. Newmaster.
I
Okay.
clicked on my mic and I was going to say I would second welcoming input.
Yeah. Any,
and we get lots of it.
Okay. I see Mr. Walt, you had something you want?
Yeah, I just am a little concerned about the term building specifications in the motion and what that's meant to be, because building specifications could be interpreted as design of the projects, and that I don't think we have anything to, I don't think we'd want to get into that.
Okay. Any?
It seemed
Ms.
like
Yep. Dr. Newmaster.
it seemed like what Angela was proposing, that we have input regarding the bid process and project labor agreements and prevailing work wage, which we already have, and just let people say again, are they supportive? It would be a good thing to know. If people strongly support one or the other, we still make our own decisions, but it doesn't hurt to tell people they have some input. We do listen.
Okay, Ms. Thompson.
I guess I could change the wording a little bit to say, make a motion to, sorry, hold on a second. I got to try to figure out how to reword it here. Make a motion to authorize a public comment period until the next board meeting to allow the community to provide input regarding the use of a project labor agreement. I guess that we could be very specific.
So you're making a friendly motion to that effect, Dr. Newmaster. Are you fine with that that amendment to the motion?
Yeah, I'm fine with that. Input never hurts.
Okay. Any further discussion, questions, comments? Okay. Seeing none, I guess I will have the clerk, Ms. Ellison, if you could read the roll.
Newmaster?
Aye.
Thompson?
Aye.
Arcand?
Nay.
Beloit?
Nay.
Chapman?
Nay.
Ellison, nay. Mullen? Absent.
Okay, the motion fails. Any further discussion?
Mr. Chapman, I would just like clarification on the last motion and vote that I was not, due to Mr. Mon's recommendation of a conflict there, that I was not to participate in the vote, so I don't want to say that I was absent.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, thank you for clarifying. I wanted to make sure I record that properly.
Yep, understood, Mr. Mullen. Thank you. Any further comments or questions as far as, I guess, any motions, where we go from here? Any further motions? Ms. Ellison.
So I have a question now. Then, so we've approved. We have a motion to approve prevailing wage for bond referendum projects. We approved prevailing wage for other construction projects. We will not have a public comment period. So is all that's left for us at this point is to vote on, as a board, whether or not we would like a project labor agreement. And should we put a motion on the table for that?
I believe that's where we are at, but Dr. Kazmierczak or Mr. Wald, if you would provide your insights as to where you think that we should.
Yeah, we could do that, and that would certainly make it clear moving forward.
I'm sorry, could you repeat that, Dr.
We could certainly do that, and that would make it clear moving forward what our direction is.
Okay, thank you. So is there a motion of any sort to be made at this point, or further discussion at all? Ms. Ellison?
I would like to make a motion that the district not enter into a project labor agreement.
Yeah, okay, we have a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second by Ms. Beloit. Discussion. Any
Ms. Chapman?
Ms. Beloit.
Yeah, I just want to say that, again, I have done extensive research on this, and it doesn't sit well either way for me. And I'm not trying to make a political statement one way or the other regarding PLA. The only information I can go off of is the research that I've done that seems to be nonpartisan off the studies that I've read. And there actually doesn't seem to be, historically, or at least within the last 20 years, there doesn't seem to be much of a difference between using a PLA and not using a PLA in terms of cost. There's been studies that show that PLAs can cost more. There's been studies that show PLAs can save money, so there isn't anything real definitive. And so the reason why I think it's important for everyone to consider all factors is that we have to represent the people of this community. And I understand that we've got a lot of feedback from the teachers union and from lots of different unions, but the people that we really need to represent are the families, the students, and our teachers. We have to represent all factors in our community. And I take that very seriously. And I've heard a lot of feedback from a lot of people, and I've thought about this for a long time, but I think we just need to understand that everyone's going to have an opinion, and we're not going to make 100% of the people happy 100% of the time. And there's going to be 50% of the people who are going to be upset and 50% of the people that are going to be just fine. So either way, I just want to put out there that this is the largest bond referendum that passed in state history, and I don't want to set a precedent for anyone coming in and trying to generate up lawsuits against us based on this. I think we need to make the best decision for our community based on the information that we have in front of us and making the best economic decision we can for this community, because it's a lot of money that they've put in front of us. So that's all I wanted to say.
This is Marge.
Dr. Newmaster.
I've also done a lot of research as a media specialist. That's my favorite thing to do, you know. And I do know that cost is kind of 50-50. Who you talk to, it's where the money goes. It makes a difference sometimes. And I look at the quality of benefits. And I also look at the EDI work as we look at it with an equity lens. And by EDI, I mean equity, diversity, and inclusion. And if you have a PLA, which the state of Minnesota normally uses, you're baking in the fact that you're very strongly looking at equity, diversity, and inclusion. So that's one of the things that I think is a real plus. And the fact that, yes, money might be similar, but the money doesn't go towards benefits. And I look at the number of people that strongly believe in a PLA. Prevailing wage is great, but I like the EDI diversity that's baked in a PLA. So that's it. That's my comment.
Mr. Chapman? I just wanted to respond to Marge real quick. I appreciate what she's saying. I did want to point out that prevailing wage does cover benefits. I looked up Washington County for prevailing wage. So just a I can't remember what they referred to it to, but it was a general construction worker as under prevailing wage made around $70,000 a year. And then on top of that were benefits. So that piece of it is covered under prevailing wage. And I think that is incredibly important to point out. And I don't think, to my mind, you're not going to get a bunch of people bidding on a project that can pay prevailing wage that isn't providing those kinds of financial benefits to their people. And that's why I think it's important. That's why I brought up the fact that we can put up the list of prevailing wages at the work site, because I think it's important for the workers to know what their rights are and what they should be being paid. But I don't want to limit us. And as much as you hear that having a PLA doesn't keep anybody from bidding, and technically it does not, but if one of these smaller companies can't commit to the union insurance, the insurance part was the part that got me. If they can't change their insurance to do what the union is doing, then that leaves them out of the bidding process. And the most important thing to me, if we're going to be stewards of this money and we're going to keep all of the community involved, every single member of the community needs to be able to bid, period, with no regulation on it, with no, you have to employ this or employ that. And that was the biggest thing to me. And that was why I wanted to make sure that that we went with prevailing wage, because I think that's incredibly important. And that was one of the biggest arguments from all of the comments that we were getting from people. Number one was asking us to use prevailing wage. And we've done that. And I think that will protect the people that are working for us in a district. And I think we need to be vigilant about the workers that are going to be working on these projects going forward.
Dr. Arcand.
Chair Chapman, permission to obtain the floor.
Go ahead.
I would like to begin by thanking all the members of the White Bear Lake School District community, the parents, the students, the district leaders, and the teachers for their dedication and hard work for passing the bond referendum. I want to remind us all together, we all work together to pass a bond that will allow us to provide our students with the flexible learning spaces that they need to thrive and succeed in the world economy. I've been around a long time. My family's been here, and I can remember a time not too long ago when members of our school district community lacked the faith to push forward any type of levy or referendum. Now that we have the faith of our community, we need to work extremely hard so we continue to work together as a school community. I have some concerns about the use of a project labor agreement that may fracture our community of we. The use of a PLA may create a tension in our community. It's true that non-union contractors may bid on projects using PLAs, but the requirements to purchase the health insurance and retirement can create issues with non-union contractors. Reminding us, if a non-union contractor already has entered into a contract with a health insurance company, it may be very difficult to void that contract in order to purchase the contract by the union hall that is represented in the project labor agreement. In addition, if a non-union contractor has already entered into a contract for retirement or retirement plan, once again, it may be difficult to void that contract in order to enter into a contract that's represented by the union hall in the PLA. This may discourage some of contractors from participating in the bidding process, so we all may not have the opportunity to compete. I believe that no one today is in favor of creating a system that would prevent contractors with organized labor the opportunity to compete for our building projects. My mentor in graduate school always pressed upon me that if you're going to do it for one, be ready to do it for all. I am asking that members today create a bid process that does not use the PLA, but requires a prevailing wage so we all have an opportunity to compete for our building projects. When we all work together to pass this referendum. We're all making financial investments in our taxes, and I'm asking that we have the opportunity to create a bidding process where we all can bid. I have a lot of confidence that many of our, if not all of the building contractors that operate using unionized labor will be very competitive and win many or not all, if not all of the bids. I have extreme confidence that that will occur. So I'm very comfortable moving forward in this position. Thank you. I yield the floor back.
Okay. Any further discussion? Ms. Thompson.
Just one, I guess, last comment would be, I found that it was interesting that in Ms. Beloit's comment, she referenced how important it was to hear from the community. And then now we've decided that we're not going to allow the community to speak on this subject. As far as all the other comments that have been made, I would say that one thing, we tend to always choose the lowest bidder on projects, which, you know, yes, we want to save money, and that is one way that we do that. But the lowest bidder is not always the bidder that is going to do the quality job that should be done. And the lowest bidder is often not going to be the union organization, because the union organization is ensuring that their workers are paid at the rate that is prevailing wage at the least, and usually quite a bit more, as well as ensuring that they have all the other benefits that I feel are our right as citizens to ensure that we are properly able to, live a good life. And that is one thing that unions do. So oftentimes their bids come in a little bit above non-union contractors because of that exact equity that they provide to their workers. I guess I don't know what else to really say to all the other things that have been said here, because there is a lot to cover. But, you know, the small mom and pop contractor, I don't feel is going to be involved in the bidding of these jobs. Anyways, I wouldn't want to say that they absolutely wouldn't, but the kind of work that we're doing here in building a school district is going to require companies that have a little bit larger workforce. Not always, but most of the time, the majority will, just as all of the construction jobs have in the past that we have been doing. You know, you can't hire the painting company that only has 5 employees to come in and do a school, because they don't have the proper resources to do a job of that nature. So I guess I would just add it, that last little bit there. I find this to be a little bit disheartening that we are moving forward on spending the money we went to the community to ask them for, without allowing them to have their voices be heard on this before we make a decision. I don't see the rush for it either, as we are not stopping any procedure from happening by having done that.
Ms. Ellison.
I just wanted to acknowledge the complexity and difficulty of this decision. And I think I want to just commend all the leadership, you know, the school board and the leadership in the administration, because these are really, for me, really torturous decisions we are not taking lightly. And I just want the public to know that we serve all of you, everybody in the community, and that we have really taken this decision and thought deeply about it, because we appreciate your support and we appreciate the faith that you've shown in the White Bear School District. So I just wanted to acknowledge that these are difficult decisions, and that they stem from a desire from all of us to do the best for our kids.
I don't see anybody queued up right now. I do have a question for Mr. Peterson, Jason Peterson, with Kraus Anderson, and that is, given you will be the project manager, Kraus Anderson will be, how do you ensure the safety and the quality of work that is going on at the workplace by the various contractors? If you could just tell a little bit about that, add a little color, I would appreciate it. It would be helpful for my perspective and perhaps other board members.
Sure, thank you. As part of our role as your construction managers, each of the sites are managed individually. We have on-site supervision. Our field superintendents are on site daily, and they work closely with the school district's staff. But a big part of their responsibility, not only in maintaining schedules and things like that, but is the safety of the site and the quality control of the work that's being put in place. So they're the kind of the eyes on the ground and making sure that things are put in as the drawings and specifications suggest. And on top of that, making sure that anything that isn't is being corrected immediately, not to affect the schedule of the project. Did I answer that question for what you were looking for, or?
Yes, that's helpful. That's very helpful. Thank you. Are there any, is there any further discussion? Is there a motion of any sort? Ms. Ellison?
Yep, I made a motion and Ms. Beloit seconded to not enter into a project labor agreement. So that is the motion on the table.
Okay, sorry about that. My memory is not always the best. Okay, any further discussion then regarding the motion that's on the table? Okay, Ms. Thompson, did you have? Go ahead.
Just a point of clarification when we vote. So we're voting not to adopt a PLA. So if we're voting yes, that means we're voting yes to not adopt a PLA. If we're voting nay, that's nay to not, right? I just want to make sure, because it's a little confusing, and just want to make sure we're all on the right page.
That's my understanding, Ms. Ellison.
That's correct. So an aye vote is to not adopt a PLA, and a nay vote is to adopt a PLA.
Okay. Mr. Arcand, Ms. Newmaster, I see you, Mr. Arcand, or Dr. Arcand, did you have something?
Nope, I'm just waiting. Just waiting, so I'm ready.
Okay. Dr. Newmaster.
I'm just wondering if there's a time frame on this. Is this like forever, or are other ones where we're voting not to do a PLA for work regarding the bond issue projects? Or were you just doing it in general?
Ms. Ellison, if you want to speak to that.
It was just in general. I can amend if there is interest in amending.
Chair Chapman.
Go ahead, Ms. Beloit.
Ms. Ellison, were you meaning in general or for this particular project with the bond referendum?
I didn't specify.
Okay. Then I would make an amendment that it's just for these particular projects under the bond referendum of 2019.
So then that would match then our prevailing wage motion then as well. So that might be cleaner.
Yes.
Okay.
That would be my intent.
Okay, Ms. Ellison, comment?
Yeah, the new motion then not enter into a project labor agreement for bond referendum projects. Mr. Mons, does that sound like it's, or Ms. Reber? I'm not used to making motions. I want to make sure I'm doing it right.
I think that works as the intent is clear.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, so the motion before us is basically then, or to state that there is not going to be a PLA, and it applies, as I understand it, and correct me if I'm wrong, only to the projects that relate to the referendum that was passed in November. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay, so an aye vote would be basically against it would be for the motion, which essentially would be against PLA. A nay vote would be against the motion, and well, against the motion. Okay. Any further discussion? Dr. Newmaster, I see you've got your mic on. Did you have anything?
Oh, I guess I know I'm always first up, but my brain is still trying to get around the double negative. So call it, maybe I understand it.
How would I say, the district will not enter into a project labor agreement for bond referendum projects. So if you agree with that statement, you vote aye. If you disagree with that statement, you vote nay. The district will not enter into a project labor agreement for bond referendum projects.
Are you clear on that, Dr. Newmaster?
That does it.
Okay. All right. Any further discussion? Seeing none, would the clerk read the roll?
Newmaster.
Nay.
Thompson.
Nay.
Arcand.
Aye.
Beloit.
Aye.
Chapman.
Aye.
Ellison. Aye.
I would like to change my vote, if I may.
Yes.
I would change my vote to an aye.
Okay. I think that's allowable. Is it, Mr. Mons? Is there any problem with doing so?
I think we can allow it. Yeah, I think it's allowable.
And that was Miss Thompson, right? I was typing, so I wasn't watching.
That was Miss
Yes,
Thompson.
I changed my vote to an aye.
Okay. The ayes have it. So the motion carries. Any other business, I guess, tonight?
Well, that wraps up the agenda.
That takes care of the agenda. Okay. With that, is there a motion to adjourn the meeting?
Board forum.
We have board forum left, Vice Chair.
Mr. Chapman, I think that you need to manage the board forum first.
Oh, yes.
Or if
okay.
you'd like to turn it back over to me, I'd be more than
I
happy
will-
to take it.
I will be more than happy to, Chair Mullen, if you want to take that.
We have board forum. Is there anything under board forum?
I just want to make a
Beloit?
comment.
Dr. Newmaster. Dr. Newmaster.
Okay, I just want to again thank our school board reps who've done such an awesome job this year. And I also want to congratulate Madison and her fellow classmates of 2020 as they've been resilient and positive and done a whole lot this year. They're just awesome. And this has given you a great perspective on the uncharted waters ahead of you. You can do anything. So congratulations, class of 2020.
Thank you, Dr. Newmaster. Is there anything else under board forum? Hearing or seeing none, I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
I'm sorry, Chair Mullen, did Member Thompson have something to share? I thought she had her hand up.
I did. Sorry, I was trying to not just put my microphone off, but I would just like to, second off of what Marge said. I did want to extend my thanks to Miss Carol and to, I'm sorry, I haven't had opportunity to meet our other liaison very often. Is it Miss Adams? Am I right? To just thank them for their leadership this year. And I wish I could have gotten to sit next to you a few more times in person, Miss Carol. I had fun sitting next to you in the meetings I was able to. And hearing your presentation tonight was inspiring and just wonderful. And I thank you for your work. And I think that now that you know how to write grants, continue on, and can't wait to see what you do in the future. I love when we get the little, White Bear Lake news things that come out and say our, student of the past has done this wonderful thing. I have a feeling we will be hearing wonderful things that you are going to continue to do. So just thank you very much for your work, and congratulations on your senior year and your graduation, and good luck in your future. I don't really think you need luck, but it's what we say.
Chair Mullen? I think you're saying my name, but I think you're on mute. I just wanted to say congratulations to all the 2020 grads. I know this wasn't the graduation that you were looking for, but we appreciate all of your efforts this year, and we look forward to hearing about the things that you do in the future. So go Bears.
Are there any other comments under board forum?
Chair Mullen, I would like to just also chime in for Maddie and just wish her well for all of the work that she's done with the school board and the various activities that she's been involved in. Been a delight to have her on the board, and just wish you well, Maddie.
Would anybody else like to make a comment? Hearing or seeing none, I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
Chair Mullen, I motion for an adjournment.
Is there a second? There's been a motion by Dr. Arcand. Is there a second?
Second. Beloyd.
Second by Miss Beloyd. This will require a roll call vote.
Newmaster?
Aye.
Thompson?
Aye.
Arcand?
Aye.
Beloyd?
Aye.
Chapman?
Aye.
Ellison? Aye. Mullen?
Aye. With that, we are adjourned.
Good night, everybody.
Good night. Thank you.
Good night.
See you soon.
Good
Next
night.
Monday.